May 15th, 1941. Late afternoon, the Wolf's Lair, East Prussia. The air inside the map room is thick with cigar smoke and arrogance. Adolf Hitler leans over the table, squinting at a grainy reconnaissance photograph passed to him by Hermann Goering. The Reichsmarshal can barely contain his smirk. It's a British plane, 2 engines, no guns you can see, and, impossibly, made almost entirely of wood. Wood? Hitler snorts, tapping the photo with a gloved finger. They are building aircraft out of furniture now. Laughter ripples through the room. General Yashanik, chief of the Luftwaffe General Staff, actually slaps the table. Goering, red-faced and wheezing, delivers the punchline. It's called the Mosquito, mein Führer, a plywood joke with propellers. Hitler straightens, still grinning. "Let them come," he says, waving the photo away. "Our Messerschmitts will swat this insect before it ever reaches the Reich." Outside, in the pine forest, a cold wind rattles the barbed wire. No one in that room can hear the faint, distant hum already building in a quiet English factory. The sound of piano makers and cabinet craftsmen quietly sharpening the blade that will soon cut straight to Berlin's heart. Hatfield, Hertfordshire, late 1941. Inside the de Havilland plant, the air smells of glue, sawdust, and hot varnish instead of the usual scorched aluminum and hydraulic oil of a proper fighter factory. Old men in flat caps, women who once built wardrobes, and violin makers from London's East End now work under blackout curtains, sanding perfect curves of Canadian birch and Ecuadorian balsa as if they're crafting grand pianos. Geoffrey de Havilland Jr. walks the line in a tweed jacket, no uniform, no medals. He stops beside a gray-haired foreman named Bert, who's gluing a fuselage half-shell upside down like a canoe. "Speed, Bert," de Havilland says softly. "Everything depends on speed." Bert just nods. He already knows. The blueprints in front of him carry no guns, no armor plate, almost no metal at all. Just 2 screaming Merlin engines and a belly that can carry 4,000 pounds of high explosives farther and faster than anything wearing a Balkenkreuz. Across the factory, a test pilot named John Cunningham watches the first prototype being rolled out. No machine guns yet, just smooth skin and a cockpit that feels like a racing yacht. He climbs in, fires the Merlins, and the entire building trembles. When he lifts off on that first flight, the Mosquito climbs so violently the chase plane, a brand new Spitfire Mark V, can't keep up. Back on the ground, Cunningham pulls off his helmet and says the words that will echo for years. "My God, it's quick." The Air Ministry had wanted a bomber that couldn't be caught. They just built a nightmare the Luftwaffe has no answer for. And in Berlin, Goering is still laughing. 12:17 p.m. Bright autumn sun over the Norwegian fjord. 4 specks appear on the horizon, so high and fast that the German flak gunners barely have time to swing their 88 skyward. No air raid sirens, no warning at all. The Luftwaffe radar plotters are still rubbing their eyes, insisting the blips must be glitches because nothing flies that high, that fast, without fighter escort. Squadron leader Reggie Reynolds pushes the Mosquito's throttles past the gate, Merlins howling like wolves. His navigator, Terry Murray, leans forward. "Target dead ahead, Skip. Gestapo headquarters, right on the nose." Reynolds just smiles. No guns, no armor, no second chances. Just 4 500-pounders with 11-second delay fuses. They roll in at 22,000 feet. The first stick of bombs walks straight through the roof of the Victoria Terrace, the most feared address in occupied Norway. Concrete and filing cabinets full of torture records erupt skyward. By the time the first Bf-109s scramble from Fornebu, the 4 wooden aircraft are already 30 miles away, still climbing, untouchable. Back in England that night, a single line goes out over the BBC. Oslo Today received a short, sharp visit from the RAF. They left no cards. In Berlin, Goering slams the report down. "Find me the fools who said this mosquito was harmless," he screams. But the laughter has stopped. The insect just drew first blood. 10:03 a.m., Reichschancellery, Wilhelmstrasse. The 10th anniversary of Hitler's seizure of power. Parade stands are packed with brass hats and foreign diplomats. Goering is mid-speech on the radio, promising the 1,000-year Reich will crush every enemy under its boot. His voice booms across every loudspeaker in the capital. Then, cutting straight through the broadcast, comes a new sound. Not the usual deep, rolling wail of the heavy bombers. A thin, high-pitched insect-like buzz that rises and falls almost mockingly. In the sky, just 6 Mosquitoes of 105 Squadron streak over the city at 28,000 feet, faster than any German fighter can climb. Flight Lieutenant Ted Sizemore leads them in perfect arrowhead formation, sunlight flashing off polished plywood like a blade. Below, the crowd on the parade ground looks up in stunned silence. Goering's mouth freezes mid-sentence. The radio feed goes dead for 8 full seconds while technicians scramble. Sizemore's bombs fall in perfect line, one stick across the Hauptbahnhof, another across the broadcasting house itself. Glass showers the street. The anniversary speech is literally blown off the air. As the 6 aircraft turn for home, still untouched, Berliners begin to laugh crying in the shelters. Someone shouts, "Die Mucke kommt!" The mosquito is coming. From that day forward, whenever that eerie, high-pitched buzz joined the siren wail, air raid wardens didn't bother announcing enemy aircraft. They simply yelled down the stairwells, "Mosquito approaching!" And the entire city knew the wooden devil was back. Goering, purple with rage, demands every fighter in the Reich be thrown at them. But the Mosquitoes are already gone, leaving only smoke and silence, and a new nickname ringing in German ears.
March 1, 1943, 19,000 feet above the Ruhr, black winter night. Wing Commander John "Cat Eyes" Cunningham, yes, the same test pilot from Hatfield, now commands 85 Squadron's Mosquito night fighters. But tonight, he's flying ahead of the heavy bombers, carrying nothing but 4 500-pound target indicators and a new toy called oboe. Oboe is witchcraft. 2 radio beams from stations in England that cross exactly over the target, singing a steady note in the pilot's ears until the crossing point, then turning into a scream that says, "Drop now or miss by miles." No German jammer can touch it. No night fighter can catch the Mosquito using it. Cunningham's voice is ice calm over the RT, marking in 3, 2, 1, TI's gone. 4 cascades of brilliant red flares tumble down, hanging perfectly over the Krupp factories at Essen. Behind him, 400 Lancasters and Halifaxes roll in like a storm front, guided by the wooden ghost that just painted their target in fire. On the ground, German flak gunners fire blindly into empty sky. Their radar sees nothing but clutter. Their fastest fighters, FW-190s pushed to the limit, still need 25 minutes to reach the Mosquito's altitude. By then, Cunningham is sipping tea over the North Sea. This happens again and again. Berlin, Dusseldorf, Cologne, Hamburg. Every time the Pathfinders are Mosquitoes. Every time the Heavies drop twice as accurately and lose half as many crews, because the wooden devils lit the way and left before the Luftwaffe even knew they were there. In the Reich Air Ministry, a shaken staff officer finally writes the sentence no one dared say out loud in 1941. Die schnellste und höchste Bedrohung kommt aus Holz. The fastest and highest threat comes from wood. And still, the factories in Hatfield keep humming, turning out one new mosquito every hour faster than Germany can shoot them down. The laughter is now a distant memory. The Reich is learning what it feels like to be hunted by something it cannot see, cannot catch, and cannot kill. 1411, Sunday afternoon. The war is supposed to be almost over for the Luftwaffe over the capital. Heavy bombers come in waves of 1,000. Berliners have grown used to hiding. But today, the flak towers are strangely quiet. Then it happens. A single de Havilland Mosquito, BMK-4, registration DZ594, flown by Wing Commander Bob Branham, 29 kills already painted on the nose, appears out of the sun at 31,000 feet. No escort, no formation, just one aircraft, polished wood gleaming like a thrown spear. Branham rolls inverted, pushes the nose down, and dives straight at the city center. The Merlins scream past the red line. Airspeed needle kisses 430 miles per hour, faster than any German piston fighter has ever flown in level flight. Below, Goering is in his private train on the Anhalter Bahnhof sidings, about to depart for Kartenhall. He hears the howl, looks up through the glass roof of his luxury carriage, and sees a lone aircraft flashing overhead so fast it leaves a visible shock ripple in the air. Branham pulls out at rooftop height, skims the Tiergarten, drops two 500-pounders with delay fuses right on the Air Ministry building on Leipziger Strasse, then climbs vertically back into the sun. Total time over the target? 41 seconds. Every 88mm battery in Berlin opens up late. Shell bursts paint black flowers thousands of feet below an empty sky. By the time the first Me-262 jet is scrambled, Branham is already crossing the Dutch coast at wave-top height, laughing over the radio. That evening, a shaken Goering convenes his staff. No one speaks. Finally, the Reich Marshal, voice trembling with something close to fear, says the words he swore he would never utter. Gentlemen, the Wooden Wonder has just flown rings around the entire Luftwaffe in broad daylight, alone. Somewhere over the North Sea, Bob Branham levels off, trims the Mosquito, and lights a cigarette. He looks at the empty gun bays, no guns, no armor, just speed and wood, and smiles. The insect has become the apex predator, and the Reich has run out of time. April 30th, 1945. The Reich Chancellery Garden, Berlin. Smoke drifts over the shell-pitted city like a funeral veil. In the Führer bunker, the man who once laughed at a plywood plane puts a pistol to his head while Soviet shells shake the ceiling. Above ground, at 29,000 feet, a final Mosquito from 143 Squadron circles the burning capital one last time. The pilot, Flight Lieutenant Peter Green, has no bombs left. He just wanted to see it. The city that once mocked the wooden toy now lies in ruins, its flak towers silent, its runways cratered, its sky empty of German wings. Green banks east, then west, watching columns of black smoke rise where the Air Ministry, the Gestapo headquarters, and Goering's own ministry once stood. He keys the mic, voice soft, almost reverent. Mosquito to base. Berlin is finished. Returning home. By the time Green lands at RAF Swanton Morley, the war in Europe is hours from ending. That same week, the Hatfield factory rolls out Mosquito number 7781, the last one ever built. Piano makers and cabinet craftsmen close their tools, wipe the glue from their hands, and go home. The final tally is merciless. Mosquitoes flew 39,795 operational sorties. They dropped 46,000 tons of bombs, shot down 623 enemy aircraft, many at night, sank dozens of U-boats, and photographed every corner of the Reich with cameras no flak could reach. Total combat losses? Just 1 for every 37 sorties. No bomber, no fighter, Allied or German, came close to that ratio. In the end, the fastest, highest-flying, most versatile aircraft of the war wasn't forged in steel by Messerschmitt or Lockheed. It was glued together with casein and birch by furniture workers who never wore a uniform. Goering never laughed again. Berliners kept the nickname to the end. Every time the sirens wailed in those final months, old men in the shelters would still mutter, half in terror, half in awe, "Mucke kommt." The Mosquito is coming. But by then, the Wooden Wonder had already delivered its final sting, and the Reich was gone.